All right, hi guys, welcome back. Library of Alexandria. So today we're going to talk about for about an hour about the Liberation, book 3 of the Alchemy War trilogy, and yeah, so we're just going to jump right into it. If you're we're probably just going to talk spoilers like from the get go because it's book 3 of a series, and I mean it's just ridiculous if you are expecting us to not spoil book 3. So at the end of where we stand is at the end of book 2. Berenice and Daniel / Jax have basically created a self-propagating free clacker freeing thing, and so all the clackers are freeing themselves. And then at the very beginning, in chapter 1 of this book, we see they call them the plague ships because it's a group of clackers who have the ability to free other clackers who have landed in the old world, because all of the freed ones where Berenice and Daniel are in the new world. And so all of the clackers in the Dutch Empire have freed themselves. And just from that beginning scene where they realize what's happening and they herd them into the yard outside the guild, the Clockmakers Guild, it's terrifying. Like, it's, guys, this is, especially the beginning, this is a horror movie. It's a horror movie. But anyway, how did you guys feel just overall about book 3? Book 3 was my favorite. I liked them all in ascending order. I mean, not everybody's like that, but I really enjoyed this one. Because we get the perspective from the Dutch, Anastasia Bell, who we're like, why is she alive? And then we see the healing alchemical glass or whatever that heals people. But yeah, I thought this was the culmination of everything that Tregillis had begun. I love the fact that the entire world state has changed. Like, that is not a normal, like, most authors are afraid to alter all the rules of how the world worked. I've only seen that in a few other things. I mean, that's a big thing to kind of tackle in a single book. But I think he did it the best he could, which is just focusing on this one subset of people and how it's affecting them. But yeah, I think it says a lot of interesting stuff about like, I don't know, like when the freed, the oppressed become the oppressors, which happens an incredibly significant amount of time over the course of history. When once the oppressed now have power in their hands, they become just as bad as the people who they're oppressed. So yeah. Anita, what about you?
Same as you, actually. This is my favorite of the trilogy, and also this book kind of elevated the entire trilogy for me.
Yeah.
I love all people. I think one of my biggest negative things in the first 2 books is like there are no like predominant any secondary characters. Most of the focus was on the main 3 characters. That was my biggest negative thing in first 2 books, but I think that same approach worked well in this book. I really like that he focused on 3 important POVs, and he gave us like overall the oppressed who came to the power, that POV, and the one who oppressed and the one in the opposition. I really liked all three POVs, and I liked. I don't like the Empire and I don't like the Anastasia Bell, but her POV is my favorite. We got to see like how they feel when the oppressed came to power, and we got to see that. I mean, that arc is my favorite more than anything. By the way, I don't like Anastasia Bell, Alan.
No, she's the worst. She's the worst. And so I do like that we get her perspective, but it does not in any way make her sympathetic, like at all. Like, she is in no way sympathetic. What about you, Katie?
I definitely like the second book in the trilogy the least. Not to say I didn't like it, I did enjoy it. But I don't know if I would put the first or the third one on top. I think the first one I really just like the novelty of like a new world and all these cool things that Tregillis was doing. But I have to say that I feel like he wrapped up this final book in an extremely satisfying way. Like I really enjoyed all 3 POVs. Jax or the Daniel POV was probably my least favorite, although I enjoyed it. It's just his naivete, whatever, however you want to say it, is just you know, I don't know, it doesn't connect with me super well, you know, even though I think it was still a very necessary POV to have, you know, throughout the story of the book, because, you know, he is the Jesus, quote unquote, of this world for the mechanicals. So I think that was a necessary POV, but I just didn't connect with it as much. The Berenice POV, she was my favorite character of the trilogy. I love her. She's gonna mess around and find out. She's gonna mess things up, and you know, it's always gonna be something. So I just really enjoyed her tenacity and her grit throughout the entire series. And then I also really liked the Dutch POV. It gave some insight into the terror that, you know, we saw once they realized what the mechanicals were doing and what was actually happening, and potentially what their future was like. That terror was so visceral having that Dutch POV in there. I really thought that was extremely well done.
For sure. Sam?
Yeah. Of the 3 books, I think this one is probably my least favorite.
Word.
And that being a minority opinion here, I wonder if you guys are going to point out some stuff that maybe I haven't thought about, because I also have a harder time remembering what happened in this book than I did in the first 2. But something Anitha pointed out that I didn't realize until being like here on the stream was, so like we've got the point of view of Jax and Berenice in book 1, but then Visser was my favorite POV in book 1, but there's almost like a rotating third point of view, because then in the Rising there's who was the captain guy?
Longchamp.
Yeah, so he was sort of like the one for that, and then for this one we've got Anastasia Bell. So I guess I'm kind of sitting here being like, I guess I wasn't supposed to follow along with him for the whole trilogy like I wanted to. So maybe that's more on me. So this one I don't think emotionally connected with me as much, but there's a lot of like technical things that Tregillis did in this book that are on par with the other books that I like just as much. For me, like this book really was an exercise of like your actions having consequences and him just following through with that. And so like what was weird is that like the Rising is where I expected the trilogy to end. And so then when like the Rising happens, it's like, all right, where do we go from here? And a lot of this book felt like, especially the stuff with the Dutch and kind of dealing with the fallout of book 2. Have you guys seen the HBO show Chernobyl? The miniseries that they did? A lot of the stuff with the stuff in Europe kind of felt like Chernobyl, this feeling of like paranoia and stuff's going on, especially the bits of Chernobyl where you've got like people who have no clue what's going on, you know, kind of reacting to the situation. So at least to me, it felt similar. So I liked this book, but I mean, it's 4 stars instead of 5 in my book, but I'd be interested to hear what you guys thought more in depth on it.
Katie, that episode in Chernobyl where they walk through what caused the
it's incredible.
One of the best things I've ever seen.
Thrilling.
Yeah, it's probably not to get completely off topic, but it's probably the best layman's terms explanation I've ever seen of it. It's really well
good. So good. Now I didn't need to see quite as many like Russian like bare butt where those guys going into the mine shaft or whatever.
You know,
Atticus, I hear you, bud. I hear you. You haven't read the book. So
poor Atticus.
Anyway,
we don't mind him talking in the background.
Atticus, you don't know it. Okay, I'm gonna have to start someone else talking until this child gets out of here. So no, I hear what you're saying, Sam. I get that. And this is not. I don't think everyone likes this one the best. But yeah, I love actions having consequences. Like I love. I think in a lot of fantasy there, especially with the resurrection or the secret. Or the fake out death thing in a lot of fantasy books where there aren't consequences for what people do because you're always going to. I was talking with Jimmy about this after we got off the stream last night. Like I love Here Comes the Cavalry, but for Here Comes the Cavalry to work, the cavalry has to fail sometimes. Like, or else it's just like, okay, well, they're back to no corner. Some Deus Ex Machina is going to pull them out. Like, it has to fail sometimes. Like, that's why I love it. It's like, oh, here it comes. Oh, no. And then the cavalry was killed too. Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah.
And so I like just the death toll in these books. Like, he does not pull punches. Like, he doesn't.
All of Europe died.
Yeah. Like, he doesn't really show us, pull back and show us that, like, probably most of the population of Europe is just gone. Like, because these clackers have just lost their minds. I think my least favorite part of this book is Queen Mab. Like, I think Queen Mab, I just don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, I liked the Dutch perspective and them getting there and them getting their desserts. And I realized that Tregillis really kind of had to have a main villain around which
Right.
the protagonist could rally so that they could all work together. And Mab is just the one that he had made. But I just don't.
It was a bit anticlimactic.
Yeah, I don't love Queen Mab. Like, I love the final battle scene where everyone's rushing the Clockwork Guild, and they've opened the pit and all of that, and because Belle's not killed by Mab. Belle's killed by, she just stomped by Stemwinders.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so I love that massive battle. I just don't like the Mab portion specifically, but I also don't know what else he could have done. I do love Decimation of Populations, Evie. You know what? I think I agree with that, Rogue. Rogue says Mab, we didn't. What do you guys think? Do you think Mab was better not knowing why she was the way she was? Katie,
I kept waiting for that. I kept waiting for like a little piece of the story of Mab's like creation or interaction with the clockmakers. Like, I kept waiting for that, and it just never came. And I think that would have made her a lot better to me if like we saw some interaction with her with a clockmaker from 300 years ago where she escaped, or this crazy experiment went wrong, or she saw things in the guild that no one else had seen before, and so she made it her goal to like eradicate clockmakers' knowledge of that, anything like that. I was waiting for that, and I was disappointed.
Yeah,
Even
I agree. Go ahead.
I thought actually they would find some kind of records about Queen Mab, and we'll get some kind that would have given some kind of agency to her, what she is doing and what the motivation behind her actions. So without that, she just became that villain without like any kind of we don't know anything about it, that we can't root behind that character.
Yeah, I'm trying to be hypocritical because sometimes I think an evil character for evil's sake is fine. But
it's almost like a movie monster, like just a force of destruction.
Yeah, and I didn't want to humanize Mab. Like, I didn't want to feel bad for Mab and be like, oh, okay. But like just some reason on why
I wanted like experiment gone wrong. Like
I just wanted
the
like
Hulk but bad.
Yeah. So Anita, what are your thoughts? What was your favorite part of the book?
Okay. As you, I mean, I usually don't like people dying or characters I like dying at the end, but in this one, I did not mind it. Actually, in book one, when every new character introduced to us was dying. Whoever meets Jax in his run, that chase, he's dying. I did not like that at all. I want some kind of development to new characters. So in this also, whenever a new clockmaker other than Bell was introduced, like Malcolm, Teresa, they're like introduced. I thought, okay, we are going to see that they're turned, they attack themselves. So I was little disappointed initially, but I did not mind at all that both Bell and Berenice died. That was a good choice, I think, in that situation. I liked that he made that choice. And okay. This is going to be a discussion. This is where I don't disagree with you and Katie. I see how Berenice is a compelling character. Actually, I agree with Katie that she is very tenacious, and I enjoyed her arc. I enjoyed her character. Actually, she is very, very compelling. At the same time, I don't agree that maybe in this book she's a little bit better than Bell and Mab, but Bell, Queen Mab, Berenice are on the same plane for me. Because
get out of here with that.
Queen Mab and Berenice are on the same plane. That's crazy.
Get out of here. That's crazy, Anita.
That's insane.
Let me complete. See, you relate to Berenice more. I relate to clackers more. Suppose I'm sorry for I'm sorry for going on a different tangent, but this is
Anita's a
related.
robot, confirmed.
This is related. See, when India was colonized by British, it is like popular that yeah, Britain colonized India, but
Anita,
let me finish,
you
please, please,
cannot
please.
use the colonized argument.
No, no, no. Let me finish. Why? But there was also initially, before British, initially Portuguese came to the southwest of India. There is still that architecture. Still see those glimpses actually if you visit southwest India. And French were there in the southeast India. If you visit the city of Pondicherry in India, you see French architecture, everything. They were there as well. But when British came, they left. British took over basically. So I see everyone, though Britain was there for a long time, they did the actual deed. They French and Portuguese were like also similar. Their intention was also same. So for me, though French were against Dutch in this, their intention was also same. If Berenice had a chance, she also was want clackers as her servants, at least until they set up as they took over the empire. So from I look at Belle and Bernice as the same in terms of that perspective, to enslave clackers in that perspective, in that context. Other
Okay.
than that, I do like Bernice. She's much better than Mab and Belle. I do see that.
Okay, Anita. First of all, it really depends on do you think after they were safe from the Dutch, do you think Berenice would have lobbied to free the clackers? If you don't believe that, then because first of all, like yes, she was planning on enslaving them also, but I mean, not for the reason that the Dutch do, which is I don't want to carry my backpack. I would like people to carry my backpack for me. And more of we're going to be destroyed. We have to do this. Now, if you do not believe her and you think that she would have left them enslaved, then the French don't really have a leg to stand on. But also we have to understand like what these people thought. Like they didn't know. Like Berenice, I don't think Berenice in book 3 would have done what she tried to do in book 2. Like I think I think Berenice has learned enough to where like this whole
Yes,
thing,
I do
this whole
agree with that.
operation's wrong.
I do agree with that. My thoughts on Berenice kept changing in book 1. I thought she wants Clacker's help to take Dutch, only that she doesn't want to enslave them. That I believed actually. I liked Berenice in book 1. Book 2, it changed. Hey, Atticus, you agree with me, right? In book 2, I mean, she really wanted to enslave Clackers, not just to take over Dutch. She was like at the end, yeah, maybe until everything until everything was settled down, calmed down. And in book through, yes, she did realize what she did. She started realizing that they are sentient too, they are treating them better. Actually, she really felt guilt.
So I think, and then I'm gonna let you guys go on this. Mab is the worst because Mab knows what it's like to be enslaved and then enslaves her people. Like Mab is like
Mab is the worst.
That's inexcusable. Like you know that your people are enslaved and they free themselves and then you enslave them? Like Mab's unconscionable. Katie, what are your thoughts on this whole thing?
The biggest difference between Berenice and Belle to me is that there's always an impetus for Berenice like fighting for what she's fighting for. Like she's not always making the right choices, but she's fighting for her life and her country at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Like she's not just wanting to enslave clackers for fun or, whatever. Whereas Anastasia Belle, there's really no impetus for doing a lot of the things she's doing other than that's the way things have always been done. And I guess the question to me would be, do you think if Berenice was in Anastasia Belle's position, would she experiment on humans? And I think the answer is no. I don't think Berenice.
Oh, I forgot about the human thing. That's by far the worst. Like,
Anastasia Belle literally experimented on humans, not out of any desire or like not having a need to fight a war. Like, she was doing this just because she thought it was a good idea. Like,
Yes, and that's not the Clockmaker's Guild. That is that child.
That's Belle.
That is Belle specifically. That is
Right.
her. Sam talks on.
Well, maybe this is me showing my own ignorance, or maybe I misread it. But this is actually a question I'd have for you guys. I, even by the end of book 3, like, never felt like the clackers were human in the sense that I felt like Tregillis was wanting me to. So, like, I still read it as, like, C-3PO and R2-D2 in Star Wars are not the same as, like, Chewbacca, Han, and Leia. Like, they're not people in the same sense. They're robots. Now, once again, maybe this is me being ignorant of, like, the theology or philosophy of, like, robotics, and maybe I should say, you know, please and thank you to Siri more. But, like, I still never bought into that. If Tregillis had written it as, like, you know, some sort of, like what they do in Lord of the Rings, where they, like, you know, kind of genetically create the Uruk-hai. So if he had done something like that, where it's like a genetic creation, maybe I would have bought into it more. But that was one of the problems that I have, where it's like I don't necessarily know that it's good what Anastasia Bell is doing and what these people are doing by, like, enslaving the clackers in a certain sense.
Mhm.
But I don't know. I kind of had a hard time ever seeing them as more than just, like, machines that are designed to feel and designed to think, rather than actually being, like, rational, created beings the way human beings are. I don't know. Did I completely miss
So
something?
Sam
Or what do you
here,
guys
Sam's here at the clackers don't have souls crowd. But I think that's one of the questions that Tregillis is asking. Like,
Yeah.
because it's not a genetically. I think it's easy if they're genetically created. I think that's an easier ask than they are
Yeah.
literally robots. Like, they are
Mhm.
robots.
Yeah.
And you know, so I also didn't think of them as human, and I'm not sure I know the
Yeah,
answer
me
to
neither.
whether or not they have souls. So go ahead, Katie.
I thought of them as, like, a different species almost, you know, of some sort. Like, I don't know, just in the idea that, like, we interact with all kinds of different species on Earth, you know, all the time. Like, does
Mhm.
that, you know, like, you know, dogs, for example, like, should we enslave dogs and take away their free will and right to, you know, do whatever? Like, they're different for sure. They have different needs. They have different desires. They operate, reproduce differently, you know, whatever. They have all these different things that they do. But does that make them does that make their free will and their thoughts any less valuable or any less warranted? I don't think so. I think that was the way that I
Because
saw it.
I'm actually, like, a dog trainer by profession, so I'm like,
Oh, that's
haha,
cool.
that's my job, to enslave them and take away their free will.
I mean, I think the with the clackers, I mean, it does show that they have desires of their own, but where does that come from? Like, we never got they never showed us how they're created. They showed us the forge,
Right.
but we were never shown, like, how the clackers are actually created. And so I think that's just one of the things that is worth talking about. I think there is no defense for Anastasia Bell's pet project of turning humans into clackers. Like, that's insane. Like, that is insane. Like, because the humans do have free will. And that's crazy. Like, that's just crazy. And I don't. Does it ever say why? Like, was it just warfare stuff? Like, why?
I think it was so they could have, like, secret agents and
That's-
stuff in places. Yeah.
That's
There was no, like, it was never, like,
horrifying.
yeah,
Also, I don't think it is like Bell personally. There are bosses to Bell, those archmasters, the archmasters, I think they do know. So it
No, I
is-
think it was Bell's pet project.
I think they knew
human
about
thing.
it, but it was it was Bell's.
Yeah, I think the people above her
baby.
know, but I think it was her idea. Like,
Yeah.
he's the one.
possible. So, and coming back to Katie's point that Bernice wouldn't have done that, I wouldn't say yes, she would have done that. At the same time, I wouldn't
think
say
she would've.
no. It depends on what kind of situation she was in and the need for such kind of project for her.
Yeah. Now I do like that Tregillis doesn't have all of the clackers join Mab. Like, she has, or he has some of them. Some of them are helping of their own free will. Like, some of them are choosing to help the humans, which I do like. Like, I like that they're not, you know, they're not all completely, you know, out for revenge on the humans that enslaved them or whatever. Some of them are like, hey, so, you know, we're just gonna leave. Some of them just leave and go to the hinterlands, and some of them fight on behalf of the humans,
Yeah.
and then some of them.
I do agree with Melissa that we should invite Tregillis and talk about the book.
We need to be like Tregillis. What's going on with this? What's going on with this? I liked his writing. I really
I
enjoyed
loved his writing. I thought
Me
his
too.
writing style was it was Bancroft-esque in a lot of ways to me, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Like
no, I get that.
Step down,
Yeah.
but
No, I agree, Rogue. I agree. That's
Yeah.
what I was just saying. That they I mean they made the choice to not go after their humans. So what else do we have? We have a Sam. Go ahead and talk about Visser for us. Didn't
Poor
his head
boy,
get
he
popped-
only got like a chapter and a half. That's about it.
Didn't his head get popped off?
Something like that. Yeah, it
that's
was
stolen.
pretty gnarly. Yeah, it was mentioned earlier in the chat. I don't know if it was Rogue or who it was that mentioned it, but like Tregillis Fraz, like, oh, very charming book about clackers and the gentry and all. Like, then it doesn't stop in this book, like the body horror and the gory moments that he has, and
Obsessed with the eye horrors.
There were
Eye
horror
horror.
undertones for sure. Like,
yeah. So poor Visser fell victim to that. But I like I said in the last ones, I don't see him having a happy ending. So was hoping for it, but Alan did a good job keeping a straight face when I talk about that, and he well knew. So
Yeah. Yeah. He got his. I mean, the thing is, he killed the Pope, and everyone knew he killed the Pope. Like, there was no way he was surviving the mob. Like,
now, correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't the Dutch Queen also die off page
Yeah.
in this book? So this is one of my quibbles with book one a little bit, but book one kind of like epilogues it and is like to be continued. So I guess it's more of a book two thing that it didn't have it. But both this one and the other book, we have like the Pope get killed off screen, the Queen get killed off
the
screen. So
Queen's not killed off screen.
Yeah, I
She
was gonna
is
say, it
in
was-
the
it was on
chapter. We
screen.
just don't see the death. She's
Okay.
on the boat. We see Belle get her on the boat, and then we see the boat be attacked by the
Titan ship.
clacker ship.
Titan ship.
okay.
So I mean, yeah, we're not there with her because we couldn't be, because
But, like-
Belle would die also. So it's not quite the same because the Pope is killed. We're just told the Pope's killed. At least we're
Yeah.
seeing the
We
ship
see
go down.
Visser walking out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What, Nathan?
Coming back to Visser, don't you guys think it was Queen Mab and Lost Boys who did that and not
I
Mob?
thought it was the mob.
Yeah, initially I thought Mob until we see those experiments and stuff.
But
Anyway.
why would they have killed? Why would they? have cared
Because
about
they
this?
wanted to see what was in.
Oh.
Because head was missing. Visser's head
I
was
think-
missing.
yeah, I
They
think it was
wanted to
Queen
see
Mab.
what was inside the surgery.
You're right.
It
room.
wasn't
That's
there.
why I
It
thought
wasn't
they did that.
You're right.
But whether they did that or not, whether the mob did that or not, this definitely made me look back and think about the mob mentality a lot.
Mhm.
I just took a break and, for the first time, I was like, okay, mob is not always right. Yeah, mob is never right. But at the same time, even in rebellion also, need to be careful where you don't cross that line.
Yeah. I like but I completely forgot what I was gonna say. Hold on. Oh well, I'll come back to it when I think of it. Yeah. You're right. Mab did.
Yeah,
Mab
that's
did take-
how I took that as well.
I don't know how I forgot that. Like, I just thanks Anita for bringing that to my attention. Crap, I've completely forgot.
I think one thing that the series, like, I feel like in any good series, there's a balance between things left unexplored and things like revealed.
Mhm.
And I think that this series leaned a little bit too far to me to the things left unexplored side. Like, there are just a few too many questions. Like, for example, how the alchemical glass actually works. How does it take away free will in humans, but then also bestow potentially free will and mechanicals?
A couple of
What's-
novellas would have worked well in this trilogy.
Potentially, yeah. There are just a
Well-
few too many things that were unanswered for me.
Here's the trade out though. We have 3 novels that are 400 pages, a
Word.
That's
trilogy
true.
shorter than The Way of Kings. It's like, all right, Tregillis, I'll take a few questions and
Word.
in return
Word.
get that.
Oh, I like the varying reactions to the clackers rebelling, and like Belle is one of the first finally to kind of grasp what's going on, and even she doesn't want to, but the rest of the guild versus Bell, like just refusing to acknowledge that the clackers on a mass scale,
Dr. Yue, or however you say his name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the people who just, even after Berenice is like we were saying before we started, like, you idiots, like, of course they have a language. Like, the fact that the Dutch are so
I love
arrogant.
that.
The interactions between Berenice and Anastasia Bell and that group are just peak comedy.
Berenice was way ahead of Bell and other clock makers, actually. Bell was all right. At least she's getting there slowly, but other clock makers are just useless.
Dunces. But then just people like the Queen, the Dutch Queen, like, what a piece of work she is. Like, she's just, like, good. I'm glad you died. She's just awful. Like, doesn't give a crap about.
She was pretty terrible.
Yeah, doesn't care, doesn't realize what's happening. Just, these people are just so. But I mean, the Dutch have learned helplessness. They've gone so long without having to do anything for themselves. And so when they lose their helpers, they're just clueless. It's like these wealthy estate people in Britain, these lords and ladies, who, when we exited the realm of the lords and ladies, you know, have these big houses and have no idea how to take care of themselves because they're used to having, you know, a house full of servants, and now it's, you know, like Lady Violet from down. What is a weekend exactly? Like, you have no idea. You've never had a job in your life, and that's what all these Dutch people are. And the Alchemist Guild cannot accept. They can't accept what's happening. They can't accept.
Who is that guy who kept losing consciousness because they're talking, because they're thinking, because they have their own philosophy? That was hilarious.
No, it's one of the guild guys, wasn't it?
Yeah,
He's the
Sebastian or something like that.
They were the worst. Like, the guild people are they're just the worst. Hold on. How shocking surprised that Adam and the other row clackers were actually. Wait, what?
Yes, that's. I mean, Bell was we got that in Bell's perspective. Adam was created to be rogue. Actually, he was not. He did not become rogue by accident. They created that so that they did that punishment execution, so that other clackers will be to instill that fear in them.
Wait, really? I missed that. Oh,
yeah, I don't think it was all rogue, was it?
Yeah, it wasn't all rogues, but there was definitely like a paragraph somewhere.
That's why he said. That's why he said, like, clockmakers lie at the end.
Yeah, there was a paragraph somewhere that basically said throughout history the clockmakers had created rogues here there to manipulate the throne. Like,
how did I miss that?
Yeah, I wasn't surprised at all. I was like, yeah, that everything about that checks out.
Tracks. Yeah, that tracks.
Same as Katie. I wasn't expecting it at the same time. I wasn't surprised. I was like, yeah, it is so totally believable.
What the? How did I miss that? Oh man, I gotta.
I mean, you read it fast and long back. Maybe you forgot.
That's true, but still, that tracks. But that's horrible. Like, what
a piece of work.
These people are awful. They're just awful. So do we have any other thoughts? We have any thoughts on this? I mean, I like this trilogy a lot. Like, I think I think this trilogy is good enough to where, like, it should be talked about more. Like, I think more people should have read this. I don't know why it is, like, I've literally never heard anybody talk about it on BookTube, and I've been on BookTube for 5 years. So, you know, I liked it a lot. I liked it enough to get Tregillis's other series he has, Milky Triptych, which is like alternate World War I, I guess, all the way through the alternate Cold War. So,
how did you all feel about Bernice's cursing throughout the whole thing? Like, sometimes like language is a bit too much in books, and like, I don't know, sometimes like strong language, hear the F word or whatever, you're like, pulls you out. I don't know. I loved it. I thought it was hilarious.
You know, compared to book 2, it was way less in book 3. I think maybe because Longsham's POVs were also there on book 2, and he also all about those kind of jokes. So compared to that, it is less in the book Liberation.
I thought it was funny. Every time it made me laugh. Like,
the thing is, they established Berenice as like that's what she does. Like, it's part of her character. Like, I was not surprised for her dropping the C word over there with Anastasia Bell. I was like, oh, that checks. That tracks.
That made me
Like-
laugh so hard.
like-
Maybe I'm a terrible person, but
No, the amount of hatred that those two have for each other, like I
Yeah.
loved it. Like he wrote the interaction between Belle and Berenice so freaking well.
Yeah.
That was
So freaking
definitely my favorite scene.
So good.
yeah, it was good. And
Well,
also,
Alan-
oh, go
Ooh,
ahead.
go
Go
for it.
ahead. I was gonna kind of change the subject, so you can.
Well, I was going to say one thing. So I looked up a couple reviews, and this made me think, oh, Alan. And I was like, I'll bring this up when we talk about it, because I was like, who else has reviewed this? So I was reading on some like fantasy review blogs from like 2017 where somebody had reviewed this. I only found a few, but in one of the reviews, somebody said, I particularly like Berenice. She reminds me of a type of character that, or she's written in a similar way to how, at least the reviewer said, they believe Daniel Abraham writes characters. I was
Dang.
like, ha,
Dang.
that's funny. That's really
awesome.
funny.
That's
so
awesome.
I
You
can't
know-
speak to that because I've only read Shadow
You
and
know
Summer, but
who-
yeah.
You know whom Bernice reminded me of, at least at the end of book 1 and book 2?
Who?
Did you guys watch Divergent movie?
Mhm.
I think at the end of Divergent movie or next movie, Naomi Watts' character will come back, and these protagonists realize that she is also same as Kate Winslet.
Mm.
Kate Winslet is in. Oh, the
Book
bad guy.
1, Kate Winslet is there. She is part of the.
Anitha, I'm a 43-year-old male. Do you think I've seen the Divergent movie?
It came long.
Well, for
You were
Theo
like-
J. Alan.
I did not watch the Divergent movie. I do like Shailene Woodley, but I did not watch Divergent.
See,
So here's what makes me mad about
this
Divergent.
is part of the culture, something I know, and Alan doesn't.
Look, Divergent, like it makes me mad because it's just like thesaurus words for things like area,
Yeah.
Dumbest.
amity. I'm like, so when I teach, I give them the derivative amity, because it's a derivative of the word for love. And I'm like, if you've heard the word amity, it's because you've read Divergent. That's the only place you've ever seen it.
When I did not read the books, I watched the movie. So first time when I watched, I was like, Google, what is the meaning of amity?
It's just dumb. It's
I was in like
like
the 5th grade when these books came out. Like it was, yeah.
word. So I like Berenice because I think Tregillis wrote her correctly, and not having her, after spending time with Jax, completely turn around and be like, oh no, I'm a freedom fighter for them. They're people, they have souls, like we need to free
Yeah.
them. And like that is what would normally happen. So I do like it when authors will kind of divert a little bit from what we expect, what the expected trope is. And in a liberation story like this, people tend to just go full on the side of the oppressed because we're
Right.
staging a revolution. And Berenice didn't do that. Like she tried to trick them into working for the French, like unwittingly work for the French. And even afterwards, she's not a complete, she hasn't done a complete workaround. At that point, everything Berenice has done has been about survival. And so once she realized that Jax screwed her over, like she doesn't hate Jax for it. Like she doesn't, she's just like, you know what? Yeah, well played. You beat me at my own game. And he's like, it's because I know who you are. And I love that also, is that Jax learned, he went from being super naive at the very beginning of book 1 to by the end of book 2 being like, this is the kind of person Berenice is. Like she's gonna try something. And and then at that point she's like, okay, how do we survive? Like how do we survive? Everything Berenice is all about the survival of herself and her race. No one got a happy ending. I mean, I guess
Long jumps, Elodie, maybe.
I would call that happy. I mean, I wouldn't call attending one of your very close friend's funeral a happy ending.
What
I mean,
happened to
not
Jackson?
that particular attending the funeral, but in the end, like he survived, which I don't see the point. You don't see him at all. I didn't understand why he,
I I think the point was to give us a POV at
Yeah.
Bernice's funeral that like
Yeah.
meant was moving, and it worked for me. It was
Yeah.
I liked it too.
See, I will be very honest. I cried at the end, especially when
Very
Long Term
sad.
was thinking about Bernice. It was very
Yeah.
heartbreaking.
It was
And
touching.
I mean, Berenice was a fantastic character. I completely agree. Objectively, I see that she's the best character of the trilogy. At the same time, I'll add the rest.
What happens to Jax at the end?
He speaks at the funeral.
He's going to look for his friends, like Vic, the friends, fellow servitors he worked with in
The ones he worked
Shoemakers.
with? Yeah.
And also he wants to go back and help those people who whose help he took to find that
He kind of
bakery.
becomes like a diplomat for the clackers
Gotcha.
almost.
Gotcha.
He speaks at the funeral and then is among the peace talks and stuff.
Yeah.
Anyone
this-
wants to talk about Lilith?
That's I mean, so completely understandable and also sad. Like there, you cannot fault Lilith of any of them. Like of any of them, you cannot fault Lilith for going after Berenice. Like you just can't. And I mean, it sucks, Lilith. Like she's got weapons, my guy. But I mean, I get it. Like the scene with Lilith was just like, it's hard because I love Berenice and I understand why Berenice was doing what she was doing. That's one of the things that makes me like super uncomfortable in that first book is, I defended Berenice, but because Lilith's a
But
classic.
she still messed up at the end of the day. She wasn't perfect,
Yeah,
she made some bad
was not.
choices.
And Lilith, what are your thoughts, Anita, since you're gonna bring that up?
Same, actually. I feel extremely sad. I mean, that revenge was justified. At the same time, he showed that how revenge can bring you down. Why Daniel is right. It was. I mean, I wouldn't blame Lilith for not able to move on because she was living very peacefully among them and she wasn't expecting that she was betrayed, so she couldn't forgive Bernice. She could not move on along with Daniel. At the same time, it is very sad. Nothing to talk more than that, actually.
And I feel bad because like when there's a character I like they're in the right and they should do whatever they need to do. So it's hard for me to not be like, well, Lilith, you should have just let her look in your head and she wouldn't have had to make you. But like that makes me feel icky. That makes me feel icky to say that. But also,
go ahead.
no, that's it. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say the contrast between Lilith and Jax was what made, her story so sad to me. Is we saw Jax get liberated and he had been through a lot of things too, but he kind of moved on. He like became his own clacker, he really owned a lot of what he'd been through. And Lilith never got that like the healing. She never got the moving on. She was so stuck.
She was
in what
traumatized,
Bernice had done, and I think that was, and understandable. I mean, it was very understandable why she was that way, but it was like just kind of heartbreaking to see her die, when she never got over that, really,
For sure. Sam,
I think
thoughts on
that's
Lilith?
also. Go ahead.
Thoughts on Lilith, Sam?
Not a whole lot, other than, in a certain sense, because she can't move on, she's still letting herself be controlled by Berenice.
Ooh,
even,
nice.
this far
that's
in.
good.
So
Yeah.
there's a certain, but I do like it just with the Berenice thing. I do like that Berenice never really gets over the traumatic things that happened to her, like halfway through book 1 with her husband dying and then the attack of the one clacker and all. Like even by the end of book 3, we're still, like I said, there's a lot of like following up on the consequences of your actions. Like that's just something that came to mind thinking about the whole Lilith situation, is like, no, that's still being brought up as like a traumatic and a really hurtful thing that like you kind of never recover from.
And that's my favorite thing in the series, because there's there's always power creep in every series where they're up against one clacker in book 1 and then the whole horde in the next books. But I am never more terrified than when that first military clacker got loose. And it was Berenice's fault. Well, I mean, it was freaking Montmorency's fault. But like when he got loose, kills her husband, kills like 30 people. That one clacker kills like 30 people. And you know, and yeah, that you're absolutely right. Berenice is still living with that. So it's after that point that she's kicked out that she's just like, she is on she has like kind of like a death wish, but at least she doesn't mind sacrificing her life if she can right some of the wrongs that she has that she's done and save her country, which, you know, I think gives her the impetus to move forward in a lot of these times where a lot of people would just be like, yeah, it's over, I'm just gonna die. Where she figures out, you know, those two clackers are gonna kill her, and all this other stuff. So I love Berenice. Such a good character. So any final thoughts? Y'all should go read this. And well, no one watching it who hasn't already read it, but you know, in y'all's respective communities, tell people to read the series. It's good. I think people should absolutely read it. It's quite good. It's quite good. And
I think it's a refreshing switch up from a lot of typical fantasy in a lot of ways,
sure.
you know.
For sure.
It kind of blends like science fiction and then like historical fiction and fantasy. So it kind of takes a whole bunch of weird things and throws them together.
Horror too, in some way.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Especially eye horror.
And like, I still just the first scene where Visser's head gets cut open, that haunted me. I was like, ooh, I like that. That was.
If I had to hear one more thing about the squelching of her eye coming out of her, like, I'm just like, please stop. It's so gross.
Here's one more thing to mention. What did y'all think of when Bernice confronts Queen Mob at the end and she pulls Lilith's alchemical glass out of her eye, and she's like fully like says it with her chest, you know, she's like, I will end all of you right now. I'm like, we know she's lying, obviously. Or at least I thought she was lying, but also like she had changed. We never knew why she changed the symbols on the forge.
Yeah.
We never knew why that was happened, but that moment, that was Bernice at peak to me. I was like, you gave it your all right
the
there.
Spy Master
I
bluff,
do agree.
making a big bluff was
Right.
that was peak Berenice.
I completely agree. That's such a
you see that
great-
Mab doesn't believe her, but also is like, this lady's insane. So
like, she's been right before. She did unwrite the Gias from all the other clackers. So like,
Mab did not believe, but Bernice wanted her to delay, and she did that job actually.
Yeah. I think she believed her a hair. Like, I think it was in the back of her mind. Like,
she believed enough to delay.
Yeah.
Freaking crazy. Mab's insane. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining us. You know, through this little journey. It's been a delight to have you know, Sam and Katie, and then our rotating fourth guest. So
kind of like the trilogy.
Yes, indeed. You guys
absolutely.
are. Katie's Berenice. Sam, you're Jax, and Anita, you're Anastasia Bell right now. Cool. Well, thank you guys for joining us. Y'all enjoy the rest of your Saturday, and you know, catch us back, you know, for the next one.
Dreaming the Eagle.
Indeed.